I'd been through all that all through my life. Why would this happen to me now? Why now? Why me? And I just sank into the lowest of lows. I had I felt like ending it all. But I thought about my parents and I thought, how hard will it be for them to hear that I took my own life, or no matter how hard the challenges are. So I said, okay.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the 91 Podcast, the show where we dig deep into people's passions with the hope to inspire, encourage and motivate you. On today's episode, we have a man who is all about encouragement and motivation. He's a life coach, he's a civil engineer, and he's so invested into building other people up. And he's none other than Mr. Toyyib Adelodun. Welcome, Toyyib. It's great to have you in the studio today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
So I've been looking into your story, and you often talk about how you grew up poor. Is that true? I'm sorry to have to ask you that. Well, it's just that so many times these days people talk about, people say they grew up poor and all of that, and I think they use it to sell their market. So is that true?
That is very true. That is very true. I grew up in Mushin. I was born in Mushin, Lagos, Nigeria. And I visit a lot, but it is a very challenging neighborhood in terms of, some people call it a slum, some people call it the trenches, just as you have Mushin, Ajegunle, and all those kind of places. But it's an area where there is a lot of challenges in terms of development, say, educational investment, overcrowding, and things like that. It's an area that I'm very, very passionate about in terms of helping people get ahead. So it was a very, very challenging upbringing. And my parents moved from Oyo State to Lagos, and that was the place they could find to settle. So we lived in this room and parlor. They used to call it face me, I face you. So we lived in the room and parlor, and I was the first of four. So my mom and my other siblings sleep on the bed. Myself and my dad sleep on the floor. So that was what growing up was like. My dad got a job to work in insurance that had like commission, and the pay was not very interesting. My mom was full-time housewife, and it was a challenge. And there were times where there was no food. I mean, no food. And you just wake up and say, "Mommy, what are we having?" And she would just burst to tears. And what moves me a lot is that there are still a lot of families passing through this as we speak. So if I pass through that and I'm close to 40 years and I see people of my age having children and going through the same thing, that is what I believe it is the biggest challenge that we have presently, is helping people to mobilize socially. Like, how do you climb that ladder in the environment? Like, how do you help people so that over one or two generations, life is actually improving, not that it is stepping back. As a child, it's tough to go through things like that. We didn't have TV in the house for years. Like, we didn't have a TV in the house. So I used to go to our neighbors to watch TV and watch football and all of that. But one thing my mom normally do is that she's a very, very disciplined person. So you cannot go to your neighbor's house and eat. You can't.
Even if
there's no food in the house. She'll be like, even if it is gari that I have for you, that you must be contented with that gari. You must not go to another person's house. If they offer you food there, you say thank you. You can't eat. And some of the places that we used to go to and watch TV, and I just used to wonder, like, sometimes we go there when they are having dinner, and sometimes you see them serve like beans and then dodo will cover the beans, and you think like, when will this kind of thing ever happen for us? Like, it looked like it wasn't going to change. It looked like it was never going to change. But we stuck in. One thing with us is that there's this love we share as a family, and it really, really helped my dad. You can hear my dad's laughter from like a mile away, and my mom will step on his feet. You know, we have not paid rent, and you are laughing, and you are laughing like this, you know. So we had that love and bond that kept us together, and we just did our best. But I'm out of it now. What I'm much more concerned about is the people that are in there now. Yeah. How can we help each other get out? And education has actually been the lifesaver for our family, and and that's why I try to preach, like, if you come from this background, try and get skills, try and get education, because that's what will actually give you a seat at the table.
Wow. But can that really work for everybody? You know, I know you're saying, okay, education can change your life, it can get you out of there and, you know, make life better. But is that true for everybody? Can that really work for everybody?
That's why I put it into education and skills.
Okay.
Then having opportunities. That's where the biggest challenge is. Once you have the education, once you have the skills, how can we now create that opportunity where you don't feel like your education is a waste of time?
I like the three things you mentioned. You said not just education, but education, skills, and opportunity.
And opportunities, yes.
Okay, so where in your life was that point where you got the opportunity? So you had the education, you had built your skills, but what was the door that opened up opportunity?
Okay, the opportunity for me started at 5 years old. My dad was fortunate to work at this insurance company, and he was a low-paid staff at that insurance company. He wasn't part of the high-level staff. But he heard about the school that the senior staffs were going. And he was like, I want my child to go to that school. But the unfortunate thing was that it was so expensive, extremely expensive, and we couldn't afford it. So that means that they had to sacrifice everything. Like even the little luxury that we don't have for that period, for them to pay for that school fees, they had to sacrifice all of that. So at 5 years old, my mom sat me down and said, this school has got a scholarship. That's at 5. You have to be first in class the first term, the second term, and the third term to renew that scholarship.
Wait, sorry. You were 5 when your mom said this to you?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
So you have to be first in class. First term, second term, third term. But don't worry, we'll do it together.
Oh.
And that's how we started. As God will have it, my siblings, they were homeschooled. So my mom used my books to homeschool them because they couldn't get the scholarship like I did. So my younger brother left school at like primary 2. The next one left school at nursery 2. The last one didn't go to school at all. So as at 5 years old, that's how I embarked on this scholarship thing. I would believe I lost my childhood because of it, because I couldn't play football, I couldn't run around, I couldn't do so many things because I had to get the scholarship. And that's where sacrifice comes in. If someone has not paid the price for you before, you have to pay the price. Nobody's enjoying anything without any price being paid somewhere. Maybe
Some
before
people might
you.
say that's a young age to carry such a burden on you.
I felt it, but I understood later on. So that was the opportunity that I got to go to a very, very good Montessori school. But the thing is that I had to be first in class. So from primary 1 to primary 5, nobody could beat me in class. It wasn't because I wanted to. I wanted to play. I wanted to enjoy. But it was very, very important because if I didn't get it, it will affect the family finances. So that had to happen. That was what I would say that was the first opportunity. And that was where I mixed with a lot of middle class children. And I just, like, what I was experiencing at home was way different from what was happening in school. Because that was then, they were playing these Nintendo games. They would come to school and they would be talking about Ken, Ryu, Sagat, Adoyuken, all those kind of things. I never saw it, but I could understand the game from their commentary. So I could still remember it till now. Adoyuken, Shoryuken, all those kind of things. But I never had it. So I was able to mix with middle-class kids, quite wealthy kids compared to where I was coming from. And that was an opportunity. That was one thing I felt changed my trajectory a lot. And when I left primary school, I go into secondary school. I went to Air Force Military School in Jos. That was the school I went. And second year in secondary school, I think the first year was actually kind of free because it's a very, very, they have an intensive application process. They pick only 3 students per state. So I was one of those that they picked from Oyo State, and then I go into Air Force Military School. The second year, somehow they increased the school fees. They said if you are the child of a civilian, you should pay 7,000 naira, which is like £5 today. And we couldn't find it. We went everywhere. We couldn't raise 7,000 naira. And that's how I had to leave the school. So I left the school. I stayed at home for a year.
Because of 7,000 naira.
Because of 7,000 naira. And my mom didn't want me to go to, like, we know what the kind of schools that are around the house. And she was just like, okay, I can still teach you a bit at home because I still have your books from primary school. I can still do some research and teach you. And what happened from my primary school was that the books that I had actually made my mom become a lesson teacher. So all the kids that went to public school around our house, my mom will coach them in the evening in our sitting room using my books. So that sacrifice was not just a wasted sacrifice. It was life-changing for a lot of children in that area because my books was used. She still has it to today. So then after a year of staying at home, someone said, one of my dad's friends came and said, look, there is another school in Abeokuta Grammar School. It's got a lot of alumni, Fela Kuti, and all of these people, and you should try it out. So I was meant to go into GS3, but they said GS3 was a certificate year, so come back to GS2. So I joined back at GS2, and that's how I went to Abeokuta Grammar School. Even Abeokuta Grammar School was a huge challenge. The school was cheap, but you have to pay for the hostel. So before we raise the hostel fee, sometimes the school is almost like half term, and I would just plunder in, just go in, borrow books, just push through. And that's how Abeokuta Grammar School went. And there was this incident when we got to SS3, and I didn't make it to the prefect list because I didn't come to school on time. By the time I got to school, they've elected all the prefects, and I was just, oh, wow. And this is why I try to talk a lot about the impact that lack can have in your life. Your trajectory will not set the way it's meant to set. You hit so many things along the way. So you can't control it. The country you'll be born, how wealthy your parents will be, you can't control all these things. That's where we stand. Before
I go further into that, I know you mentioned your parents. Recently, you brought your dad to the United Kingdom.
The two of them.
You brought your parents to London. How did that feel? Knowing where you guys came from.
Surreal. When my parents were around, myself and my mom, we go for a walk. We just walk around the park, and we talk a lot about those times, and we talk till it gets tearful. Just thinking like, did we ever imagine this kind of day would ever come? Did we ever imagine that, we were struggling to pay rent, like really, really struggling. And it used to turn to quite messy, with a couple of our landlord's children. Some of them were very, very good, but there were some that get rent at some point. Like they rotate the rent collection. There are some of them that were like, okay, you can still hold on for a while. But some were very, very like confrontational with my dad, and I had to witness it. And the bell would be ringing in my head. This life is not, your life is not going to be an easy life. So those things happening, me witnessing it, and then getting to a point where I myself now own a place in a city like London. I used to say I've exceeded my expectation as a person. Everything that comes next is a bonus. So when I talk with my mom and we just thinking about all those struggles, and you just think, wow, tough times really don't last. Whatever is happening now can always be better. Sometimes it will look like, no, my mom still has ulcer till today. Back then, she would just fast indefinitely because there was no food. And once she is able to give us something, she would just go on without anything. She still nurses ulcer till today. And then you are now in a situation where you want to eat the food in the fridge because you don't want it to get spoiled. You look at that contrast and you think, wow, just in this same one life, this kind of things have happened. So it was very, very surreal. And my mom was feeling cold at some point, so I took them to Gibraltar, south of Spain. Wow. And it was very, very hot. That was the first time they would go on a flight when they came here. And it was a feeling that you just felt, wow, these things can actually happen. You can actually move from that situation into this situation within a lifetime. For some people, it will take 2 generations. It's just understanding where you are starting from and where you want to be, and they sacrificed a lot. They sacrificed a lot. My mom does not do her hair. My dad cuts it. And sometimes she normally tells me that, it's because she doesn't like to do her hair. I know she likes to do her hair. I know she would like it. But when the resources are not enough, she cuts her hair like secondary school, like the normal hair that you have. My dad cuts it. And that's still the situation until today. But now she's 60 plus now. I bet she's lost the flair for, let me do my hair or things like that. But that was how things were during that time. So it was, that experience was really, really, really like humbling. And you just felt like, wow, okay. So I took them out. They had a good time, spent a couple of weeks, and they were happy, and I was happy as well. And it was something.
Was that the first time out of Nigeria?
That was their first time out of Nigeria. That was their first time on a flight, and it was the first time of a lot of things. Wow. So I tried to make it enjoyable for them. So they stayed in London for a bit. We went to Gibraltar for a few days, and then they came back to London, spent some more time, and then they went back home. So hopefully we'll be able to do it every now and then, and
Wow.
Yeah.
So what is your recipe for success? For someone who's gone through such a tough background, you're now here motivating other people, helping other people, sponsoring other people. What was your recipe, apart from opportunity, which you mentioned, and education and skills? Can you just give us your complete recipe? What advice can you give other people that they can follow to also, get to this other part?
The first one is accepting where you are. Accepting, I think I was reading a quote from Marcus Aurelius that say you should accept the hand that life has dealt you. Trying to forcefully change it is a waste of time. You are not in competition with anyone. You are in your own race. Your mates will do better faster than you. That's allowed. That can happen. You can, I dropped out of school 3 times. and I didn't wish to, but life brought it, and I couldn't fight it. If I fight it, it would be a pure waste of time. So the last time I dropped out was even challenging because I went into a mental health hospital for 5 months. So coming out, I knew I was no way in the league of my mates. I went back to start as an undergraduate at 30 years. I was like the oldest in the class. So you first of all need to accept the challenge that life has thrown at you. Say, okay, this is where I am. What am I going to do with what I have? Then you start controlling what you can. Since so many things are out of your control, what can you control? The kind of books you read, the kind of people you move with. Are they people that are inspiring you? We grew up in an area where you don't have a lot of people doing amazing things. But the good thing about the internet today is that you can be in Lagos, Nigeria, and have mentors
all over the world.
All over the world. I curate the information that comes to me. If you go on my TikTok now, the kind of videos that I watch will be different because I've kind of curated the kind of information that comes to me. I've been reading so much about so many people that I haven't even met, and they've kind of mentored me, even though I was in Moshi. I've been following the kind of people I follow. Most times, they are people that I have learned so much from in the past by reading their profile, following their work. And the good thing about the internet today, I think Twitter X has that kind of thing, is that, let's say I'm following Nassim Taleb, for example. Nassim Taleb wrote Food by Randomness. He wrote The Black Swan, like the book that predicted the financial crisis. I've been following Nassim way back before I even left Nigeria. But the thing about Twitter is that sometimes I can see the way my mentor is responding to a live event. So I can see the way they see the world. I can see the world through their eyes. Yeah. Paul Krugman, for example, Nobel Prize winner in economics, and he tweets a lot randomly about what's happening in the economy and all of that. And he puts analysis there, and you can read. So following people like that, and you think, okay. Reading people's profile, kind of like connecting the dot, know the pattern. Because pattern was what God gave us as humans. If you plant maize at so time, you know when to expect maize to come out.
Yeah,
the day you understand how to follow patterns of people, and then everything becomes easy, because it becomes simple, I would say, but it won't be easy. Because you can see the pattern and say, okay, this person did this, and did this, and that's how they arrived here. And that's what I study a lot in a lot of people. I try to go deep into the story. Which schools did they go? How did they get here? And then I'm able to know, okay, am I actually able to achieve that? Or am I fooling myself? Okay, if I cannot go to Harvard, can I attend Harvard courses on YouTube? I may not be able to afford this. What free alternative do I have?
Yeah.
And that is what has built my knowledge till today. When I was thinking of getting into property, I just went randomly on YouTube and started watching all these young British kids that are property developers. And they say, I got this. I go, okay. What can I deduce from here? I can deduce this, I can deduce. What can I control? What can I not control? So being able to find successful people and modeling our lives after them. If you are a farmer and you teach me how to plant yam, after getting that knowledge, you will continue to plant your yam successfully, but I will go to another village and dig up the ground and put the yam on the ground, and the principles will just work well because that is what life has got to give us, patterns. There's this book, Principles by Ray Dalio. I read that book a lot. I still read it. I still reread it every now and then. And it just talks about some principles that can help you to get where you want to go. But then you now need to flip it to the African perspective and say, okay, this is where I am. I don't have these advantages. What can I do? Some people cannot afford degrees because degree is expensive. Yeah. Okay, can I have a skill that does not require a degree and I can be as good at it and get paid? And then you look at, okay, these days we now have graphic designers, we have video editors, we have people that can code, that don't need to go to school, but they just need to acquire that knowledge. So that is the kind of thing that I believe we can really, really work on and say, okay, what do I have going for me? What do I have that is against me? What can I control? What can I not control? You know, the mentors I follow, the books that I read, how I spend my time. Because a lot of us don't have money, but we are time rich. So what are we spending that time on? Because that is our massive investment. They say you won't be as young as you are now anymore. And this is the oldest that you have ever been. So how would you now invest that time to yield as much dividend in the future? And
wow,
that's exactly the route.
Sorry, when you were explaining right now, you mentioned a mental health issue. Sorry, are you open to discussing that a bit further?
Oh yeah, definitely. So when I moved there as a student, I had this routine where I go to school, and then when I come back from school, I have a bit of a nap, and then I go and work in the nightclub. So I used to work as a cleaner in the nightclub, and that was my routine for quite a while. So there was this particular night that I went to work, and I didn't come back home. And I just went to work normally, and then I finished work, I left work, because I ordered my medical report from NHS, and they sent me a big stack of PDF because I spent like 5 months inside the intensive care unit. So apparently I went into a taxi rank. I was going to get, I normally wouldn't get a taxi home. So that was something that was baffling. Yeah. So I went into a taxi rank, and I wanted to get a taxi. And when I was reading through the report, apparently I ripped up the fire extinguisher. And they called the police, and I was arrested. The funny thing was that night was the night before Prince William's wedding. So there was a lot of security. That was April 29, 2011. There was a lot of security in London. My alteration at that taxi rank, that cab office, could have led to something else. But somehow they kind of thought, it seems this guy is having like an episode. Yeah. So they checked me into the hospital. So I was in the psychiatric intensive care unit. So they sectioned me because there's a Mental Health Act. So they sectioned you under the Mental Health Act 2, and then when I wasn't well enough, they put me into Section 3, which means that they can hold you for up to 6 months. So I was there getting medication, getting treatment. You know, it was an experience. Like, you in your room, you have no access to anything so that you don't hurt yourself, and you are just there, you get your medication, you get your treatment, and it was something. And you know, where we come from, there is this kind of how do you call it? There's a phobia, or like a stigma around mental health. Yeah. And for myself, I see it as just like any other ailment. Like you have cancer, or you have something that you came back from and you are well. You know, I spent 5 months there. I spent several months in therapy, and I've been able to bounce back. I've been able to live a good life. You know, when I came out, there was a time I fell into depression because so many things happened when I came out. When I came out, my landlord had kicked me out of the house.
Didn't he know where you were?
He didn't know. So he had kicked me out of the house. All my properties had gone. You know, till today I couldn't find them. Everything that was in the house. So I had to start all afresh again. So I had to start like couch surfing, and some people gave me some clothes and all that. And I felt, wow, after I had been through all that all through my life, why would this happen to me now? Why now? Why me? And I just sank into the lowest of lows because I felt there is no way in the world I'm going to come out of this. Like this is the lowest I can ever get. And to make matters worse, I was talking to my therapist. I even saw it in the medical report that time I wasn't remembering a lot of things. Like if you tell me something, I'll forget. So I always try to hide from conversations so people don't know that I'm becoming very, very forgetful. And considering how I grew up, my brain was my only asset. I wasn't good with my hands. That was my only chance I had.
Yeah, so invested so much into your education.
Into my education. And I was like, God, I had I felt like ending it all. But when I thought about my parents, because they were not here to help out during that tough period, I had some family as well that they were able to help me with food and things like that. But I thought about my parents and I thought, how hard will it be for them to hear that I took my own life, or no matter how hard the challenges are. So I said, okay, I know I am low, I know I am behind, I know I can't measure up to my mates. Let me take life one day at a time. I won't rush anything, I won't do anything, I'll just take it one day at a time. And that was peace. That's where the peace came from. Like, let's forget about no ambition, nothing. Just stay alive. And that was a challenge that I set for myself. And gradually, things started picking up again. I went to cut my hair one day, and I was telling the barber that I needed a job, and he said, look, the person that stood up here talked about construction. They say the job is hard. I said, it can't be hard because I'm unemployed. That's how I started construction as a laborer. That's how I go into construction. And then I go into construction, I started asking questions like, oh, what did you do? What did you do? Oh, they said that, they did this, they said this. I said, okay. That means I have to go and enroll back in school. So I went back to school at 30. I was working on site as well. And that's how, and in over 10 years, I've worked in different projects. I was on Crossrail, I worked on the HS2, the enabling works, and I worked from being a laborer to start working in project management. And I just felt, I thank God I didn't give up, going through that experience. Well, it was tough, but,
It must have been very difficult for you. I can't imagine, how did you feel having to, go and start, learning at the age of 30? You must have had classmates that were in their 20s.
Yeah, they were doing their PhDs or master's degree. And it goes back to accepting the hand that life has dealt you. When I dropped out of school the first time at 11 years old, it wasn't my fault, but there was no money. There was nothing I could do. When I dropped out of university in Nigeria, when I dropped out of Lautech, there was no money. I didn't know how else to do it, And then when I dropped out because I had mental health crisis, how would I have foreseen that? How would I have prepared for that? I had plans for that morning when I get back home, that this is what I'm going to do early in the morning. So when things like that happen, and we will all suffer one thing or the other like that, things that we didn't plan for that came into our life. How do we, it's okay to grieve. It is okay to let it all out. I cried so many times. It's okay to let all that emotion out because we are humans at the end of the day. But how do we put ourselves together to understand that as long as we are not dead, as long as we are still here, God has not closed the chapter yet. There's still a mission. There's still a purpose. And this is why I tell to people, try and help people that are going through dark periods and things like that. And one thing that makes it hard is because you are looking around and say, my friends, my family, they are all progressing. Here I am, I'm not going up. But God's time is the best time. if you can hold it together and say, there is the story we tell ourselves are very, very critical in this stage. Because I moved from life happened to me to life happening for me. And that comes with a different kind of story. So the story that, I am down, I can't get up again, to maybe God has a reason for this. I used to phone my mom and I used to be crying all over the phone that how could this happen to me? Because she couldn't come. She couldn't come to see me. It's like, why can't this happen to me? Why me? Why now? And my mom would be like, God has a reason for it. I said, what reason does God have for it to put me into this kind of situation? I mean, I've lost everything. That's how I'll be telling her on the phone. She'll be crying, I'll be crying. And understanding that it is not over. It is not. It is not. If you give it a bit of time, you will see the reasons why those things had to happen for you to get to where you go. Someone, I think it was Pastor Sam Adeyemi, that said, you don't get the best out of the tea bag until you put it in hot water. It's not that hot water is very favorable, but that's how you get the juice out of it. That's how you get the fine blend tea, you know. It wasn't easy, but I'll just urge, let us stay the course. You know, let us stay alive. You know, I had that time where people were giving me clothes because I didn't have any. Everything was inside the house. And people would say, take a shirt, take a trouser, you know. And that's how it started all over again. And great things can happen if we are still here, as long as we are not dead. Even we cannot write ourselves out. You can't tell yourself, no, I can't do this anymore. I can't make it anymore. That is for God to decide.
Because some people may see it as giving up, accepting the hand that life plays you. They might see it as, okay, you're just giving up. You're not fighting. You're not trying to change things.
You will, in your own time. And that's why it is important to let people grieve. You know, to let people let the feelings out. Don't bottle it up. Forgive yourself. Forgive everyone in the past. Because there was a time I was thinking, I wish I didn't travel abroad. Maybe if I didn't travel abroad, maybe I wouldn't have that episode. You know, that is a story to tell yourself. But we have to understand that every action we take is based on the experience we had and the information we had as at that particular time. So if you try to change the past, that is very, very impossible. You know, I think it was a quote by Claire Bard that said, nobody can go back and have a new beginning, but we can start now and have a happy ending. So you don't know the meaning of those words until you actually have to go through it yourself. You hear it, it sounds like a motivational quote, and then it goes down. But when you have to actually live that word, you have to actually be that person that walks through the storm and come out on the other side, then the word affects the way you live your life. You see life in a different way. And I would just say, if you are into that kind of thing, just hold on. Hold on. It is not over yet. You can still get to where you are going. Because there are several routes to get to where you are going. Why you are angry is because you think the route that you have planned is closed. But God can have a different route.
That's true.
With a different plan. You know, but that plan will mean you have to go, you know, like they say, if you want to shoot an arrow, you have to pull it back. You know, it might mean that where you're going, God wants to pull you back so that you can go even further forward. So you have to accept in that thing that as long as I am still here, you know, if God was through with me, maybe I would have been tasered that night. You know, something else could have happened to me. But he said, okay, let's just throw him in there for a bit. Let him, you know, let's just scatter everything for a bit and reassemble it, you know, and let him come out. So as long as we are still here, that's the line.
He has planned for us.
He still has planned for us.
What was your experience like inside there? Did you meet people? What was it like in there?
You meet a lot of young people. And that's where we have to kind of work on the stigma that people have about mental health. You meet professionals that are stressed from their work, and they have an episode and they go in. You meet, young people that are having their life together, and they have that episode, and they go in there, they get medication, they get treated, and they come out. And that's how I try to put it, that it's just like any other ailment. You were sick with this kind of disease, and you got treated, and you come out. And I just want to thank the NHS, like the kind of staff that looked after me. I was quite troublesome when I was in there. There were so many times when I feel well and I'm better, I say, you were doing this and this last night. I say, I'm so sorry, And it was an experience. It was an experience that if you don't know about that part of life, you need to have someone that has been through that situation before, or you personally been through that situation before, to have that perspective of things. I met international students there.
International students?
That came here to study, and these things happen, same as myself. We get treated, we go back into the system, and we are able to live our lives. So it really depends. It really, really depends on how we see the whole system. And I do a lot of talking to people that are going through tough times, mental health challenges, just to let them know that I've even been to the extreme where I had to be hospitalized and all of that. And I still came back and still carried on with life. So it's a phase that requires that help when you need it. Some people don't try to go for help. They'll be like, no, I cannot take this medication. I took antidepressants. I took all the medication that I had to do. Some of them had side effects because my weight went up. I was over way well above 100 kg at some point. So it requires that going back, hitting the gym, eating well,
and working with yourself.
It's a whole big thing that one has to cautiously look after. But if you need help, it's always good to seek help. Yeah. See a therapist, see a mental health advisor, and they are always there. The Samaritans, Mind, there are a lot of organizations there here in the UK that can actually support you when you are having those kind of issues.
I saw a tweet of yours talking about you attending, what's that group again, where people learn how to speak?
Oh, Toastmasters.
Yes, but I wouldn't have thought you'd be attending Toastmasters, because I already think, you're someone that's accomplished, you're confident and all of that. Why are you attending Toastmasters?
I think I used to be an introvert. Like, I rarely talk outside. Rarely. I only talk around people that I knew. And over time, I felt if I didn't work on my communication and public speaking skills, it would be a huge setback for me in my line of work and then in my whole career as a whole. And there's this data that says about 90% of people, after death, one of the things they fear the most is to speak publicly. So I felt it is a skill that I must master. It's a skill that I must learn to help me get along. So I started watching, reading more about communication. But the thing with public speaking is those kind of things where you need exposure therapy. For you to get better, you have to do it. If you don't do, there's no amount of book. Someone said there's no amount of book that can make you speak like Bill Clinton. For you to be able to speak like Bill Clinton, you have to be able to stand up and start doing it bit by bit.
But you do a lot of tweeting, so I think maybe you're used to...
That is different from standing up and talking. So I felt, okay, I still go to Toastmasters, because it's an opportunity where people just gather around and you stand up, you pick a topic, you talk. There was a time, I think I tweeted about it, there was someone that came in there and he had his wedding in a few weeks, but he was a very, very shy person. So he thought, let me come to Coastmasters because at my wedding, I'll have to stand up and talk. And you can imagine on your big day,
not being able to talk.
Not being able to talk. So also, as a skill for someone that is growing up where there is scarcity, you have to have that confidence. And I talk to young people a lot about this because the fear of refusal, the fear of rejection is stopping a lot of us from going for things that we want because we think they will say no, because we think they won't accept us. So that skill has to go into what we teach our young children from as early as possible. They should be able to come up, talk, be articulate, be able to put their thoughts together, be able to present it, because it is a skill that is very, very critical.
For someone who is, into helping people and who tweets a lot, you were kind of silent when it came to Nigerian, the political period. You didn't really say much. Why? Is it that you're not interested in politics or?
The way I see it is that as young people, as a country, we have to understand the consequences of our actions. There is, we used to do civil education and all that in school. There is a lot of voter education that we need to do as a country. A lot of us still make decisions based on tribe, religion, and all like that. But if we look at the best countries in the world, they are run on meritocracy. And that is what we want every voter to have at the back of their mind, right from local government. Am I voting this person based on competence, or am I voting this person because it's from my local government or it's from my village? That is the work that we need to do, and we need to take it knock it everywhere. And that it is the education bit that is the problem, because you find out that even till today, some people don't know their local government chairman. They don't know their councillors. They don't know. Some don't even know what the state budget is. What was allocated to education? What was allocated to this? We have to be someone said you have to be actively involved in your own rescue. Because we know our leaders. If you do not keep an eye on what they do, so many things can go out of hand. So I believe the part that I really, really want to help out is the education bit.
So did you support any particular, did you support Peter Obi? Did you support?
I wasn't, how do I say, I wasn't public with my support.
Why?
But because I couldn't vote.
Okay, that's true.
So it was more of, I'm not sure people will trust me with their decisions. What I tried to put out much more was that, look, your vote has consequence. Think very, very well before you vote. That was I was much more on the education side, because I felt I cannot force my opinion on anyone and say this is who you should do, this is what you should do. I'm not there to tell you what to do, but I can help you to see things from a wider perspective. How many libraries are in your local government? Mr. Beast went to Africa recently, and he built 100 wells. Where you are, there's a river close to you. Has that water been chlorinated? Do you have drinking water in your house? Do you think it makes sense that in 2023, there's no library in your local government? So this is what I want people to see. And one thing I find out is that there's a situation that we have at the moment because people cannot see beyond what is happening. So they excuse the leaders for the state of things. You know, they didn't say, he's trying. And I'm asking, what is he doing? How is he trying? You know, that's his job. That's what he's meant to do. That's what he's getting paid for.
That's what he's supposed to be doing.
You know, the funny thing is that a lot of us back in Africa, we support English Premier League teams. And when a manager loses 5 games in a row,
kick him out.
we start shouting, this guy out, that guy out. But here is someone that didn't perform as a governor and you voted him back as a senator. How about that? It can't be one rule in football, then another rule in politics, you know. How are you scrutinizing the people that are representing you? Because there is no amount of prayer or fasting that is going to make the angels come back and change our situation. We have to be active and understand that whatever choice I'm making, whatever the choice is, this person that I'm voting, I am trusting that person with my life. I am trusting that person with the life of my children. I'm trusting that person with the life of my unborn children, because governments will make a decision today that will have effects on 2 generations coming. These are the things an average voter has to understand and know the weight behind putting that thumb and voting. And then we look at voter turnout as well. Those are areas where we still need to improve. How many people are in the voters' register? How many people are actually coming out to vote? If people come out more, can we actually swing this? Can the people actually put their person in there if they come out more? You know, there is still a lot to go into our political process, but the Supreme Court has decided. We have to accept what the Supreme Court has said, you know. And
accept the hand that we've been dealt.
Accept the hand that we've been dealt and say, okay, what can we do
to move forward?
Move forward from here. You know, are we going to keep people on their toes? Are we going to be watching them and say, look, you took a step here, we won't forgive you because we don't have a lot of time. And the critical part for us in Nigeria in particular is population increase. Our population is expected to reach, say, about 400 million by 2050. That is pretty much double what we have now. How are we going to manage the resources that is not enough for 200 million? How will it be enough for 400 million?
With everything you went through, did you ever feel like you were not confident? Did you ever doubt yourself that you could never make it, you could never achieve, you could never, meet your dreams?
When challenges happen, it brings out would you call it insecurity, or it brings out that story that possibly these things are not meant for you. So when you grow up in a lot of scarcity and money is not enough, and then you think, okay, will we ever be in a position where we'll be able to afford things? The kind of stories that comes into your head then is that these kind of things are not...
They're not for you.
They are not for you. So when there was a time I was trying to study in the US, I had a scholarship and my visa was denied 5 times. So I kept going there. 5 times. And then you now felt, wow, maybe if my parents had a lot of money, I wouldn't go through that, because my SAT score was above 70%. So you think, oh, okay, what is going on here? And that is a part of the understanding and coming to peace that life can be challenging if you don't have background support. Accepting that fact, and try and re-engineer the story you tell yourself. And I tell a lot of young people back home to say, a lot of things that you see people achieve, you can achieve it too if you have the same opportunity. So be confident in yourself that what is going on with me now, I may not be experiencing things in the way my potential is actually, I may not be enjoying what I'm supposed to enjoy based on the kind of knowledge that I have. I know a lot of people that are extremely, extremely smart people, that are not living in the wealth that they should be living. And those kind of things are not within their control. Maybe they've gone to school, they've just found a job, and maybe they come out into an employment market that is not really, really favorable, and things are a little bit down. So there's a lot of reassuring stories that you have to tell yourself in those periods. I had to go through that as well, to tell myself that, look, it's not that you are not smart, it's not that you are not hardworking, but the way it is presently, you have to accept that and work from there. But if you fail and fail and fail, there's something in your mind that tells you you are not going to succeed. You are not going to
You're not meant to.
You're not, especially when I came back from hospital, I really, really had to work hard to fight that thought, because I felt like it was over, that there was no point in me being here. Like I had to actively start telling myself that new story to say, okay, this has happened for a reason. I may not know that reason now, but I'll hang on and see what is going to happen in future. It is not over. It's being able to, as we said before, accept the facts that are on ground. My parents are not wealthy. I've got this ailment that I have to, and one of my sisters actually give me a lot of strength. She's got sickle cell. And as the first child, I watch her battle all through the crisis and all of that. But there is a fact that she cannot change.
Which is the sickle cell.
That's what she has. So what she has to do now is to navigate around it. How can I manage my energy? How can I manage my time? How can I manage this? How can I manage going out, coming back? How can I manage all of that? So when I see her and I see what I'm passing through, then it gives me a lot of deep understanding into life. In fact, of accepting where you are and then working with what you have, because what you have is what you have. You may not have any more. So you have to work with what you have in your way to get it to where you want to go.
Make music with the strings you have.
Exactly. When life gives us lemons, we make lemonade,
Some people may look at your story, where you've been and where you are now, and they may say maybe it's just luck.
It could be. What I would say to that is, whatever you believe in, God, nature, karma, whatever you believe in as a person, life is so abundant if you can view it through another lens. If you are not thinking about yourself alone, because a lot of times you think, me, why is this happening to me? Why is this?
Yeah.
When I fly, I look down in the sky and I just look at how small we are compared to the 8 billion people that are around the world. You may be thinking you are having it very, very tough. But there are some people somewhere that don't have what you have, that you think is not enough. They are praying to have what you have. Some children are being born into war as we speak now. So when you have that view of things, you understand that it is what you have is still something that can be built on, and you never know what is going to happen until you start acting, until you start putting yourself forward, until you start, what can happen is limitless. There's so many great things can happen, but if you are not out there, if you are not putting that, going out, trying your best, we are all humans. We all have one challenge or the other, but the world will favor that person that that goes out, makes the effort, puts something out there. That farmer that goes to the farm, toil the soil, put the seed. You hope.
Find the opportunities and take advantage of them.
That something great will happen. That is just the spirit. Whatever it is, dress up, shower, show up.
Wow.
Even if you don't know what is going to happen, show up.
And my final question, is there any bit of advice you have for somebody out there that might be watching this, might be going through the same struggle you went through, might be having self-doubt, self-limiting beliefs, maybe wondering, when are things going to change? Are things ever going to change? Or maybe they will never change. Do you have any few words for them just to encourage them?
I would say, hold on. Hold on. It will get better. Tough times do not last. I know it sounds like a cliche. Even our lives, we are not going to be here forever. So everything will come to pass. That situation we are in now is not going to be there forever. It will change. But accepting it is hard. Very, very hard. That why has this happened to me? Why is it only me that run into this, that run into that? And why have life not changed for me? It's very, very difficult. What I would like people to do is, as we talked before about acceptance, accept where we are now, accept what has happened in the past. 2 is to forgive ourselves, forgive whoever has hurt us in the past. Because if you carry that burden, it's a lot to carry. Like, this person did this to me, this person did that to me. First of all, we need to clear that out as well in terms of forgiveness, forgiving other people and forgiving ourselves. And then be kind to yourself as well. You've been through so much and you're still here, you're still standing, you're still fighting. Like, be kind to yourself. Have compassion for yourself. Some people who have gone, I went through that period as well where I hated myself. I hated what had become of me and I just didn't like it. So we need to bring that kindness to ourselves. Say, even if you think you have brought yourself to where you are, you still need to forgive yourself to be able to move forward. Then, whatever we want to achieve, first of all, it is achievable. Because there's so much abundance in the world. That's the first thing. We have to understand that it is achievable. Secondly, how do we go about getting it? Some people have done it before. Some people from our background has done it before.
Yeah.
And those are the people we need to seek. You may not have it in your environment. You may have it through a book. I read a lot of biographies in terms of understanding how people live their lives. And I found out that some of them I could adapt based on my environment. Some of them I could not. And that's why someone like myself is out there as well, encouraging people from my background to say, look, you've had it hard. We've had it hard. Knowing what we know about the globe, about the economy, which career can you choose? If it is resources that you want, if it is money that you want, if you want to earn well, what can you do to earn well? Which way can you go? Can you choose accounting? Can you choose sciences? Can you choose a skill? So,
sorry to cut in there. Even the career you chose is not even a career that many people look up to in Nigeria. Many people don't look up to it.
It's just the opportunities that are behind it. Like civil engineering, building and things like that. We are not building as much in Nigeria. So you have a lot of civil engineers that end up working in banks. So not putting yourself within the borders alone. Thinking, okay, how can I go outside the borders? Can I take my skills outside the border? Can I have even though I can have a hard skill that I can use to work in Nigeria, can I have a soft skill, like a skill that can get me remote working? You know, knowing what we know now, they say if you know better, you do better. So knowing what we know now from the past and the glimpse of, I believe the most important thing for us is finding the truth. And once you know the truth about a lot of things, it is easier. I think it's Mark Twain that said, I don't know if it's Mark Twain or Mark Twain, he said, it is not what you know for sure that gets you into trouble. I think that's how the quote went. It is what you know for sure that is not true. Because there are some things that we know for sure that this is the reason why, but that is not actually true. So going all the way out to seek the truth about your situation. Okay, why is this road not built? Okay, this thing happened this time, it was allocated here, it was allocated there, and that's why a young person has to be a student. You really, really have to go down low and see. There is a lot of things going on. They call it agenda these days. There's a lot of it going out left, right, and center. A young person now has to be active in seeking the truth. You know, because once you know the truth about why this is hard, okay, this is what I need to do, this is what I need to do, this is how I can navigate around it. Because that truth is the most essential thing, because some things that we believe are not actually true.
Especially a lot of things that we see online these days.
Exactly.
We're just feeding ourselves so many lies. And then we get confused.
And then we get confused. We don't know the truth about the situation. And when you don't know the truth about the situation, you may be acting in a way that is consolidating that belief. You know, so that is where a young person has to be curious. You know, the Bible, the Quran, they both mention about curiosity. Be curious about life. Why is this thing like this? Don't listen to one source alone. Listen to multiple sources. Listen to those arguments and understand, okay, I don't have money. For us, we grew up in scarcity. And then I started to understand, why are wealthy people, do wealthy people know something that I don't know? Okay, can I investigate? Can I read about books? And then I noticed that, okay, I can earn money as a worker and plow that money back into investments. They say I own a stock, and then I bought a stock, and I saw the stock appreciate. I said, so this is how this thing works. You know, then you buy a property, and then you say, okay, you buy this, and within a few years, it's grown in value. So this is what they call equity. You know, so that means that where I come from does not matter. If I provide enough value to someone and they see my skill as valuable, I can actually get paid. There was this story about when I was looking for an engineering job, and my supervisor at work said, go on, you can apply. And then I applied for this job, and I phoned the agency, and the lady said, what is your rate? And because I was so scared, I was like, my rate? I said, £15 an hour. And the lady came back and said, are you sure you are an engineer? And that was a moment for me, because as at that time, the going rate for an engineer was £20 an hour.
And you asked for 15.
And I asked for 15 because I felt, let me not ask for
too much. They might not want it.
They might not want it.
You didn't realize your value.
Exactly. So knowing that what you want is achievable, and you can actually make it happen. I think there's this helplessness as well in some situations where some people might think, I need someone to help me to do this. You will get help.
Destiny help.
You know, but it will be you that will take charge of it. It is your dream, and it will be your responsibility. Whatever situation we find ourselves, even though it is not our fault, it is still our responsibility to change. But as we now move on, as we now fight it, as we now push further, help will come. Because the universe, God, whatever you believe in, will not want you throw things out and go in vain. If you put maize into the ground,
It will grow.
it will harvest. God has done that way before we were born.
Just put everything in play.
In place. So let us go out, try it, and operate in the area of knowledge. Having the knowledge about what we want to do, having the knowledge of how far this thing is going to take us, it will not let our effort go in vain. So we have to gather that courage, take responsibility of everything, even the things that we think I didn't cause this. Take responsibility for it. Start taking that step gradually, staying in our own race, staying in our own lane, not competing with anybody, just staying there and then taking it one step at a time.
Oh, thank you so much, Mr. Toyyib. It's been amazing having you on Saturday.
Thank
so
you
many
for
words
having
of wisdom. Now I really now understand why you do what you do. Hearing where you've come from, hearing what you've gone through. Yeah, it's amazing and it's inspirational to myself and I'm sure anyone out there watching.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this, please don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. And don't forget to follow Toyyib on his social media and learn more about him and be inspired by his journey. Thank you for watching. Thank you.
Thank you so much.